Welcome back to my Kickstarter for Authors crash course. I am Kayla Ann, author of Well of Dreams and Tree of Ash, and I'm here to help you run a successful Kickstarter. Today we're going to talk about your campaign kind of just as a whole and the three different parts that there are to it. Depending on how you ran your pre-launch period, which again, I'm encouraging you to have a longer pre-launch and to have at least more than 50 pre-launch followers, but closer hopefully to 100. Depending on how you ran your pre-launch period, you are going to have a strong opening. The first 24 to 72 hours is probably where you're gonna see a ton of your funding. Now, there's not an exact comparison to like how much funding you have at the beginning to how much funding you have at the ending, because there are so many other factors that come into play, but usually that first 3 days is going to account for maybe about 30 to 50% of your total funding. But again, that is not exact. There are a lot of factors that come into play. That's just my experience from the Kickstarters that I've ran and the other Kickstarters that I've seen. Then you're gonna have something called the soggy middle, or the dead zone of your campaign. And this is typically that entire middle portion after the first 72 hours and goes right up to about the last 48 to 72 hours. So it's that middle portion of your campaign for however long you chose to run it. And I'm going to talk about how do we survive that. But typically during the middle, this is where there is a very sluggish movement, if any movement, and you're dealing a lot more with canceled pledges or lowered and decreased pledges. And then you have that last 24, 48 hours uptick, where typically, not always, but typically there tends to be just a bit more pledges than there is in the soggy middle, because Kickstarter will send out a message to all of your pre-launch followers who haven't pledged yet, and they'll just be like, hey, just a reminder, this campaign is ending soon. You might want to jump in on this, and you tend to see a little bit of an increase at the end. So for the most part, you have high funding at the beginning, kind of a dead zone in the middle, and then maybe a little bit of an uptick at the end. The hardest part of your campaign is probably going to be that middle portion, again, sometimes referred to as the dead zone. So here are some pieces of advice that I've received or that I've discovered along the way that helped me to bring some life back into that dead zone part of my campaign. Number one, update your campaign. There are two ways that I do this. The first is I change my campaign banner every 3 days. The idea behind this is that maybe my current campaign banner is not visually pleasing to all backers. So some backers are going to like it, they'll see it, they'll click it, they'll pledge. Other backers are just going to skip over it entirely. But if I swap out that banner every 3 days for something new, maybe a different visual is going to better appeal to a different backer, and they'll be willing to click the campaign to check it out. The other thing that I do to update my campaign is I swap my genre. So my primary category is publishing, but then after that I have young adult. And then in my secondary column, I have publishing, fiction. Every 3 days, I swap that, where my primary becomes fiction and my secondary becomes young adult. And then I swap it back. You can only really do that if this applies to your book though. Number two, this is why stretch goals are also really fun and important. It gives your backers something to look forward to. It encourages them to share if they want to reach a certain stretch goal because they want to improve their own rewards. So again, just another reason to love stretch goals. You could also do things like flash rewards, where if you hit a certain number of backers, maybe not a certain amount of money, or maybe it's just a certain day, where you open up a new reward that everyone can jump on, or some kind of add-on, or something interesting and new to your campaign. Number four, swap your campaign. I know it's scary to go join another group and it's a lot of hard work to figure it out, but honestly, backer swaps is an amazing tool to use during that soggy middle. That, and ironically, going and backing other campaigns. I have no proof for this except for personal experience, but sometimes when there's no movement on my campaign, I go and I back another campaign, and for some reason that helps the algorithm and it shows my campaign more. Again, I don't know the logistics behind that, I just tell you that it works. 5, social media. Sorry friends, but it helps. Something I did differently this time was I actually ran a giveaway during my campaign, where if people shared a reel that I created about my campaign and they tagged me and they also posted the link, then I would put their name down in entry, and they could win an entry every single day until the end of my campaign. So this was really helpful that other people could also share about my campaign. It wasn't just coming from me, but they also got this chance of a giveaway. So it was a way for me to say thank you for helping me to share my campaign. And 6, just breathe through it. Stop checking your phone. At some point, there is only so much that you can do. And this is the hard part. You have to release a little bit of that control. You cannot force someone to back your campaign. So do what you can do, and then put down your phone, take a step back. go take a bike ride, go take a bath, go relax, and just let it go and breathe through it. Don't get me wrong, I know that last step is a lot harder than it sounds. I hope today was helpful for you. If it was, again, you can show your appreciation by liking, saving, sharing, and commenting. I'll be back again next time with another video to help you run a successful Kickstarter.